All right, so as this is, first off, welcome to our Digital Earth Festival, our first ever coffee talk. So what's very important, if you do not have one with you now, cup of coffee so that we can have our coffee talk. Today's topic, actually our entire Earth Festival's topic is reduce. And for our coffee talk today, we're actually going to be doing reduce and working on solid waste. So we've got some really awesome people. We have some interviews that we've pre-recorded to share with you, and some folks on the line who will be able to answer some questions. But one of the things I want to let everyone know is after we have gone through the program and looked at some of the interviews, we would like to open this up to be an interactive conversation so that we can talk about how we collectively and how in our own households we can reduce solid waste and what to do with some of those things. So just making sure everyone's prepared and ready to jump in later by turning on your cameras and microphones to have that conversation. Just so you know, while we're actually in the middle of playing the videos, so the pre-recorded interviews, if you have a question that you want to make sure we touch on afterwards, feel free to open the chat and be able to ask all your questions via the chat. And then we'll talk about at the end as well some of the other fun and exciting things that we have going on here during our online Earth Festival that will be coming up and that we'd love to have you participate in. All right, so with no further ado, as part of this, like I said, we have these pre-recorded interviews. We're actually going to start with two awesome folks from the Otsego County Solid Waste and Planning Department. And they're going to tell us a little bit about what happens there. And they're actually on the line this morning, so they might be able to open up their microphones later on to answer any questions so that we can continue on. So here we go. Hi, everybody. We've got our first guest here today, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, Amy. Thank you for having us. I'm Karen Sullivan. I'm the Director of the Planning and Solid Waste Department for Otsego County. I've been in this position since 2012. We have a staff of 5 people. And that's not including weights and measures, but our department does many things, but one of the most important things we do is manage our recycling and solid waste for the county.
And I'm Shane Digan. Thanks for having me. I'm the recycling coordinator / planner trainee as of June, and I am happy to answer questions and talk about recycling.
All right, well, with no further ado, let's jump right in.
Currently we have, 2 transfer stations that are owned by the county. We took possession of them in 2014 after we dissolved from MOSA, which was the Montgomery Otsego Schoharie Authority. And with that, we contracted through procurement Casella to manage our 2 transfer stations as well as our recycling program. So currently we accept municipal solid waste and recyclables at our transfer stations, as well as metals for free. We collect recyclables from residents free of charge at both sites. We collect electronics only at the Oneonta site, and we collect mattresses only at the Oneonta site. And that's due to the fact that we have limited space in Cooperstown. It's a small site, less than an acre, and we have no place for storage. So with that, we generate roughly 40,000 tons of MSW municipal solid waste, and around 3,800 tons of recyclables, which are a mixed stream of paper, plastics, and tins. So we're able to do that through what the county implemented in 1998, a user fee to offset our cost, as well as us setting the tip fee at the scale house. So when material comes across the scale, it's charged at a fee per ton. We have been in operation with our facility since 2 facilities since 2014. And some of the changes that have occurred over time, as you know, our outsourcing of recyclables is becoming more and more difficult since the China sword. And I'm going to let Shane talk about that a little bit more, where simply put, we used to be able to get rid of recyclables and get a fee back, like a $10, $15 per ton revenue back. We're now paying over $100 a ton to process and get rid of it. So recyclables, as much as we want to keep recyclables as part of our program, and we think it's important, they are costing us more than our garbage right now. So a few years back, we're always thinking about how we can reduce our waste stream and remove material that's going to a landfill, because our material goes to Ontario County, which is about 4 hours away from here. And so we started the recycling of mattresses 4 years ago, easily now. We have a company out of North Tonawanda, New York, that takes our mattresses and recycles them and processes or repurposes, I'm going to say 90 to 95% of the material. Does a couple things. It does cost, so we're charging for the mattresses, but it also takes mattresses out of a landfill. And they're awful difficult to also compact into a trailer when you've got them as part of your waste stream. So we're very proud of one of the few counties that is doing that. State of Connecticut now, it's a law to recycle mattresses. So I think New York will follow very shortly, but we're ahead of the game. And we've kept the price of that stable at $25 a mattress for the last 4 years. In addition to that, we have opened helped to assist with getting a reuse store open with the partnership with ARC at Otsego, where we are taking tons of items out of the waste stream and repurposing them through the reuse store. And in addition to that, ARC is our partner for recycling. So we got a grant and we put in a polystyrene recycling machine where people can now bring their styrofoam and repurpose that and not throw it in the waste stream. So those are things we're currently doing, and of course we can do a lot more. And I'm going to let Shane talk about some of the steps we're taking to reduce our cost of recyclables, as well as some of the new adventures we're trying to get initiated and started, like food composting and green waste and separation of glass and separation of cardboard. So I'll stop and let Shane chime in on some of our future thoughts and what we're trying to implement.
Yeah, sure. So those are a lot of good things we're working on. Like Karen mentioned, food waste is something we've recently started a project on, and it's kind of a multifaceted thing, but the main part is we're accepting food waste at the Oneonta transfer station for just a small fee of $1 a bucket, basically, and that will get composted at Seward Sand and Gravel in nearby, also in Oneonta. Along with that, we're selling 6-gallon and 2-gallon food waste bins. To us and OCCA are both selling these bins to help people with their food waste composting. Every other year, we were doing it this year, but due to coronavirus got canceled. But we're going to try every other year to sell backyard composting in rain barrels. Karen mentioned the separation of glass and cardboard. Again, trying to just keep costs down and also make the experience a little better for residents if possible. We've started to separate cardboard at both transfer stations, Cooperstown, Oneonta, and glass at Cooperstown and hopefully Oneonta soon or in the future. This is just because we have a local source for both these products, like glass. Instead of sending it all the way to Albany to a general recycling processor, we can just send it to Andela Glass, Ruby Lake Glass in Richfield Springs, or Richfield, town of Richfield. And then the cardboard goes right to Otsego Auto Crushers in Oneonta. Besides that, we do a lot of things with recycling in general. Like we have a plastic film challenge we do with OCCA for schools, which is wrapping up right now. I'm sure when we air this, we probably have announced the winner or are doing so. Yeah, there's a lot of other things that if you have any questions, we could answer them.
And what is the best way for folks to ask questions if they're not sure how to recycle something?
So
Well,
we have, go ahead, Karen.
no, go ahead. Together we have a Facebook page and we have our web page for the county. And currently with the pandemic, we're setting up a chat bot. So I listed a series of questions that we get on a regular basis that people can call an 800 number and get their answers to their questions that generally are, what are your hours of operation? What recyclables do you take? You know, how much is it a bag of garbage? So a lot of those common questions, they'll be on that chat bot, and I'm hoping it can continue after the pandemic is through, because that is a lot of our questions. But it's nice because as I've been here through the pandemic, I've been able to talk with people and make them aware, you know, if you're visiting the transfer station during this lockdown, please be respectful of our staff, keep your social distance, and don't consider it, you know, don't hold conversations or chit chats, or get in and out, and leave your conversations for a later date. And if you don't need to go, don't go. If you can keep it for a month, keep it. I had somebody call today and they wanted to get rid of a boat. And I was like, well, I'd prefer you to cut it up into pieces so it's not one large piece. And I said, if you can hold off for a month, then, you know, help us out a little bit. So we're trying to monitor the traffic going in so that we don't have to close it to the public. But it's, you know, we get so many people coming into our county from other areas that to promote recycling and educate people is a really important part of what we do, because people coming in from the colleges, from the baseball camps, from the opera, they're all coming from different areas, and everybody is not consistent on what people do for recycling, and throughout New York State even. So our educational part of it is very important to make sure that people are aware of what is recyclable. Make sure you clean your recyclables, you know, protect us from contamination. If you've got a glass olive jar with a metal lid, do not put the lid back on the jar, because that's considered contaminated, because they can't process glass and metal together. So you have to take those apart, clean them, put them through your dishwasher, whatever. So it's a challenge, always has been. It'll be a continual challenge, and we're thankful Shane is on board, because he's been a great asset to have when we were going through the plastic bag legislation and the census and everything else that comes through here. But education is key. It really is.
There's a couple points I'll just make clear. So at the time of us talking right now, you know, transfer stations are still open the normal hours. So if you're wondering that, it's the normal hours, and you can check those hours on our website or on the Facebook. We're still recycling everything. Things aren't getting dumped in the garbage. So we're still recycling, and you can put everything that you normally recycle that has a number, basically. We still recycle metal, single stream, you know, paper, plastic, cardboard, all that. So everything's still moving. Everything's still happening. The plastic bag ban is on pause. Again, that's not a county thing, it's a state thing, but that's happening. So while people are still working inside and are unsure of things, recycling and solid waste is pretty stable, still happening just as it was.
Well, what we have also realized during this period of isolation is everyone's cleaning closets and cleaning out cupboards and cleaning out garages and coming to the transfer station for the first time. And so we have not seen a decrease in traffic. We've actually seen an increase this month of March at least. So, you know, we're trying to say to people, if you don't have to go, just, you know, hold on to it for a month. And so it's difficult for people. But another thing I wanted to add is, another thing on our agenda item is construction debris. Construction debris right now goes into our municipal solid waste. And we would love to see and work towards a program to try to get that material removed from our waste stream and do something with it, whether it's, you know, bricks, breaking bricks down to be reused for mulch, or wood, chipping wood up. It's, you know, it's a big undertaking, but it is something that's on our wish list to try to remove that material from municipal solid waste. First of all, it weighs a lot, and our charges are based on weight. And if we could repurpose it for an opportunity for something else for it to be used for, it would also be a great benefit for all of us.
So one of the questions that I would love to hear from either or both of you on is, how can we help households, and mostly households, we're looking at, you know, individuals right now, to reduce their solid waste? What are some of the things that you suggest to kind of help bring that amount down that we're all producing?
Well, my first thought is be conscious of how you purchase items. You can go into some stores and the vegetables are all wrapped in cellophane and styrofoam, where you can go into another store and the fruits and vegetables are loose. Well, if I choose to buy the vegetables loose, then I don't have anything to throw away other than the organics. There's also new products coming out that I'm aware of. Shampoo bottles are plastic, and you can't buy shampoo in anything other than plastic until now, where they're selling shampoo in like pods. So the pods come, there's no plastic container, there's no and nothing you throw away. It's like a bar of soap, but it's shampoo. So if you really start to think about the things you buy and what they're packaged in, you know, consciously you can make some small changes there, and also have your own composting facility at home. I mean, you can have a composter and food waste when you start to get down to it. If you know, it depends on your cooking habits, but if you have a banana or you have an orange and you have the skins from both, put them in your compost pile instead of throwing them in the garbage. Those are a couple simple things that people can do. And, you know, ask yourself before you throw it away, what alternatives do I have? People constantly call me and say, well, I've got furniture, I've got that. I said, is it reusable? Do you have to throw it away? Is your TV still working? Or you just got a new one? You know, think of alternatives other than throwing it away. Of course, we're a throwaway society and things are not made to last like they used to. So we're also up against that. But lots of times when I make those suggestions, they'll say, oh yeah, you know, maybe I do. And I had a simple experience before we had the styrofoam machine. I had ordered something on Wayfair and I'd never ordered, and it came with a boatload of styrofoam. So I bagged it up in clear plastic bags and I put it on Oneana items for free to say, can somebody use this? And somebody said yes. And I dropped it off, and instead of throwing it away, it was repurposed for eBay sale, you know, mailings. So just, you know, consciously think about it before it goes in the garbage. What could I do with this?
Yeah.
It was another neat idea I just thought was taking old bowls, ceramic bowls or things, and putting them in your garden as kind of like decoration. And I saw that when I was walking, and I was like, well, that's a neat idea. You know, instead of throwing that glass bowl out that's got a chip in it, put it in your garden for landscaping. I mean, be creative, and you'd be amazed how you can consciously reduce what you throw away by just thinking about how you buy it, what the container is that it's in, and is there another way of doing this?
So if you look at your garbage, just to add on to that, if you look at an average bag garbage, you know, there's only a few main components, and, you know, there's true garbage, which is things that are not recyclable and they're genuinely garbage. So like mixed materials, dirty things, that's garbage. Then there's recyclable material, which we encourage people to recycle. And as Karen said, you know, try to reduce buying that if you can. But there is recyclable material. Styrofoam is recyclable at the reuse center. That's on pause right now, but it will be. You know, glass, plastics, cardboard, paper, it's all recyclable. And then you have organics, which if you look at USDA estimates, you know, 30% of the food supply is wasted. So there's 31% food loss at the retail and consumer level, which basically means that, you know, a big chunk of your garbage is just organic waste. And it's not just food, it's also, I mean, it's food, but it's also anything organic. So the leaves, banana peels, you know, any food waste that you have, it's not just that, oh, I cooked this and I didn't eat it. That's all food waste. And that can be composted either in your backyard or through our new municipal program. So even just reducing that is going to take away a ton of the weight. And people ask all the time with food waste, why does it matter? Because if it goes to a landfill, it should just get compost it anyway. Like, what's the point? And the point is that the landfills are sealed off, essentially, the simple way to put it, so that it takes a lot longer for food waste to decompose in a landfill, sometimes never, really, compared to your own backyard or through our county program. It takes a lot longer, and it fills up the space a lot faster in the landfills. So you can reduce your food waste to a lot less than what you think it is. I mean, the true waste, if you look at places that actually do separate out organics, like Delaware County, where they have a system to pull out organics, the true waste is about 12% true garbage. So you can do a lot, and obviously recycling is not perfect, takes a lot of energy, so you do want to reduce that, but you can totally drop down your garbage waste. Yeah.
Perfect. Is there anything else that we want to make sure that our viewers are knowing about, that are happening in the county, or just a word of positives about solid waste? Anything that we want to share?
Well, there's always positive stuff going on. I mean, the paint, there's New York State paint legislation that was signed that mandates companies provide, basically they're creating there's a new company that all the companies contribute to that will recycle paint for you. Simple way to put it, you're going to have a place to take your paint in a year. There's mandatory separation of food scraps law going into effect in 2022, which will force or make it so restaurants and people producing over 2 tons a week have to source separate if there's a facility available. The plastic bag ban, while enforcement is on hold, that's still going forward. If you look at that as a positive or negative, it's something that's still happening regardless of the coronavirus epidemic at some point.
The other thing is that there is proposals for the redemption glass legislation. Glass is one of our hardest commodities to find a market for, and that's one of the reasons we're starting to separate it out. But secondly, part of the legislation would include wine bottles and liquor bottles. And when you just, we pay again by the ton. So anything that is glass is costing more than something that's plastic. So the legislation hopefully will take more glass out of the waste stream. Of course, that'll probably trigger people to make things in different materials. Peanut butter jars used to be glass, now they're plastic. The only thing I think that's left in glass pretty much is pickle jars and olive jars, things of that nature. But as it gets more expensive, they will revert to plastic because it's cheaper. But we're hoping the state listens to what's going on in the recycling world and understands that glass is, very much a burden on us right now. And we're very thankful Andela is taking the little bit that we're taking out of our stream. And we're encouraged by that. So finding other sources and other uses for glass is a real key. And I know there's people that use it in paving and street design, and that's some of the ideas that we've been throwing around. But
what I'll say, I'll just add onto that glass thing quickly, is that you can right now recycle glass if you go to the Cooperstown transfer station, and if you're in the Oneonta area, just hold on, but keep your eye out. And that itself, just removing your glass from the plastics, is a huge help for the county, for you, because it's staying local. It's going to help build roadways, like Karen just mentioned, or road like design. And that, again, is a huge contaminant. It weighs a lot, so you pay for it. And also sometimes it breaks and can contaminate the other waste streams. And I know I've been walking around, I see, there's plenty of wine bottles out there. Liquor stores haven't shut down, so just be conscious not to throw those out. Clean them out, rinse them out, recycle them.
Yeah. Right. And if they become if they become part of the redemption program, people will be grabbing them up for the 5 cents or whatever they'll get back for them. So, we hope to keep our system going the way we have been. This pandemic puts everything on a hold, and we're hoping to, keep normalcy and still have our household hazardous waste event this year. Time will tell.
One thing we forgot to mention, Karen, is electronics.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we have two electronics events scheduled for this coming spring. Now, obviously, at the time of recording, we haven't canceled them or anything.
No?
If we do, we'll let you know. But we have June 6th. Let me just pull it up to I'm not making anything up here. June 6th, we have in Edmiston at the Edmiston Highway Garage. Sorry, June 6th in the morning. That's a Saturday. And May 30th in the afternoon, we have a collection event in Cherry Valley.
Yep, the community center.
Community Center. So, and if you live in Oneonta, you can always recycle electronics right at the transfer station.
Right. So one of the reasons, this will be the first year we're doing remote collection of electronics, but we realized that Oneonta is the only place to dispose of electronics right now. And we normally do it during our household hazardous waste event, but last year we had so many people that we re-evaluated what we could do to make traffic move faster, and taking the electronic station out is going to help us. So in response to that, we're holding 2 collection events in the northern part of the county for people to be able to bring their material there.
Awesome. I think that'll be super helpful. Well,
another thing too, Amy, we did have to start charging for certain electronics this November, or last November, November 2019, due to the legislation for electronics, where the legislation sets quotas for the manufacturers. And over time, the state of New York said that, well, these quotas will, decrease with time. Well, the material has not decreased, but the expense continues. So we started charging for TVs and monitors, $12 a unit last November, and we'll charge at these collection events as well. It's costing the county anywhere between $40,000 and $50,000 a year now to manage our recyclables of electronics, and it's a mandated program with no support from the state. We don't get any assistance. We did for a while, and that's gone, and I can't imagine it's going to be around after all of this, but so we do have to cover our cost, a part of it. It doesn't cover everything.
But it does help offset, so that's good. All right, well, thank you both very much for joining us today. We are excited to have you on our first ever OCCA Online Earth Festival Summit. And if people have additional questions, how is it best for them to get a hold of you?
Well, we have our Facebook page, and we have www.otsego.county.com, Department of Solid Waste, a lot of information. We have our phone number, 607-547-4225. What am I missing? Do we have?
Well, they can send a message to the Facebook page if I don't know if the question answer things up yet, but you can message the Facebook page. You can also email me. My email is right on the website. So.
Right.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you,
You as well. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Karen and Shane, for joining us via pre-recorded. There's been a fantastic conversations going on in the chat. And if folks are willing, I would love to have people unmute their microphones at least. I understand we all may have come to our coffee talk in a very relaxed state. So if you don't want to turn on a video, that's perfectly fine. But I'd love to talk about some of these things just to make sure everyone's seeing them. So if anyone's willing to jump right in here, I would love to start a conversation. So feel free to unmute your microphone.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for being the brave soul.
Yeah, of course.
There we go.
All right.
Took me 4 clicks.
We'll get it there.
I wasn't chicken.
Hi, Amy. This is Karen. I was struggling to unmute myself.
Yeah. No worries. No worries.
Hi, Martha.
Hi, Karen.
Oh, that was painful watching myself, I have to admit.
Well, it was definitely full of great information, Karen. There was so much that, especially when many of us just kind of use the services all the time, we don't necessarily get to know about the back end or what's going on in the background or what your future plans are. So I think it was fantastic. But I would love to talk a little bit more about what's going on here in our chat. So Martha, do you want to kick it off with talking a little bit about the how to get rid of?
Oh, that's on the county website as well as OCCA's website, kind of two different forms. One, I believe, is meant for a phone. That's the OCCA's site, and it's searchable. And the other is searchable alphabetically, I believe, at the county level. And we tried very hard. OCCA members of the recycling committee worked on that with Karen and her department to help create that list. With a lot of help from Herb Marks. I have to give him a lot of credit. He's a real detail guy. And we needed that, that's for sure.
Yes.
And every once in a while, we do think of something else that's not out there. So please let us know if you have something that's not on the list.
Right, and to add to that, Martha, there's always new items coming onto our market. So I use the example of e-cigarettes. Are they electronic? Are they garbage? So we're constantly, it's an evolving list that we should revisit probably pretty soon to just evaluate what we haven't been able to respond. I had a couple questions about old railroad ties. And I actually had to research that a little bit because I do have creosote and we cannot take them unless they're decomposed to a certain point. So there's always something coming up that we maybe haven't thought of, and it's good to keep that list active. And we work very well with OCCA as a partner to try to get the word out as much as possible. But usually it's just a phone call that triggers a thought that we missed something.
Yeah. What would you do with railroad ties? Decomposed.
Well, it depends on their decomposed, how far they're decomposed. I had somebody who replaced a lakefront barrier, and I had to call Casella to say, what did they do with it? And the question was, how decomposed is the material? Like if you can easily break them apart, then they'll accept them. But if they're intact and they're still pretty solid, they cannot throw them in the trash. So, that was the response I got. So basically I said, we can't take them as trash if they're not able to be broken down easy enough. And I don't really have a source for them to take them otherwise.
So maybe they move them away from the water.
Exactly. That's one of the things DC no longer lets you use railroad ties for waterfront barriers because of that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things I never think of. And I won't share, well, anyways. I've had some interesting phone calls over the last few weeks.
Yeah. I hadn't heard about shampoo in a bar. That's why didn't we think of it?
Yeah, actually, I've been trying a couple out, and they worked out better than I thought. At first, it was just such a foreign concept. But yeah, they're not bad at all. So definitely switching over, trying some new stuff.
Now, hey, Amy. Hi, this is Trish. Hi. Also, OCCA has received donations of, I think, 2 mattresses and box springs that we've actually sold for our fundraiser through the online garage sale. So mattresses, yeah. So anyway, that's another idea. If they're in fairly good shape, the used ones, that's another way. College students buy them. I think we sold our last one right before Thanksgiving. People have company coming, they want mattresses. So if they're in good shape, that's another thought with the mattresses. Thank you guys.
Yes,
Trish, this is Karen, Trish, and
hey, Karen.
I admire OCCA's effort to do that. I just know that you have to be very cautious of those situations. And
tell me, yeah,
yeah, because I know that even the nonprofit agencies don't take used mattresses for repurposing them. So it is a challenge. But if, you know, that's a judgment call.
Oh, no, thank you. Maybe I could talk with you more sometime. I wasn't aware of that. I mean,
Yeah.
right, Salvation Army won't do that. Yeah, I didn't.
Or, yeah,
Hey, thank you.
you're welcome.
All right. Any other questions directly for the solid waste department? Because we have another another organization in Cooperstown that is another alternative for some of that reusable waste, and we have a pre-recorded interview to listen to from them as well. And so, but I want to make sure we got through the question.
I have a question about at the solid waste transfer stations, if there was any thought about textile recycling. I mean, obviously you have the Salvation one for like items that can be worn again, but like underwear or things like that that people might just throw out that end up sitting in a landfill for a long time. Like what other options there might be for items like that you kind of feel like, you know, obviously you can repair, which I do that, but there's only so many times you can, or if like a sock, I don't know, has seen its last day kind of thing. What is the best, you know, just like what is the best way to recycle that? Anyone?
I'm going to lean on Martha a little bit because I know that a few years back, textiles was a big discussion at the annual NISAR conference. And there are companies that do take textiles that are beyond reusable purposing to repurpose the items. I also suggest to people, since I was touring a highway garage, that many garages use old rags for cleanup, and they had a container there where people who donated pieces of rags just cut up to garages to be able to use them. Also, I suggest to people that if you've got old sheets, old towels, or items that can be used at a veterinarian clinic, good resource for that kind of material, because they're always looking for repurposing, you know, having again, cloth material that can be used in a veterinarian, and I've personally dropped a lot of items off there. Jeff just emailed or chatted a cloth recycling link, but you know, those are a couple options we have. We haven't looked much further into finding another source for textiles, but those are a couple opportunities.
This is Shane hopping in here. Yeah, there are other, like Karen said, there are other places. There are companies that will take other textiles. One of the issues is we tend to be outside of their service range usually, but it is something I will continue to look into, and it's a good point to bring up.
And to jump into that, we used to have, books are a big issue as well, and we, for a period of almost 2 or 3 years, had a book company that collected books for free and repurposed them, and it was wonderful. And unfortunately, as Shane said, we fell out of their service area, and they no longer, all of a sudden, they no longer serviced us, and we've struggled to find another book company that would take books, because books are in everyone's home. So those are a couple things, you know, we're up against, number one, finding a company that services our area, and then being able to provide it at minimal cost for the consumers.
There are also textile boxes. There's one in Cooperstown, I believe, behind the church next to the Catholic church. There's also one in the Hartwick Seminary at the gas station. I know the SPCA has collection happening at the SPCA. They sort their material and they have an arrangement there as well.
Yes, and there are also 2 in Richfield Springs, one behind the old small garage on Main Street, and one over at the Catholic church.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for all your feedback to that.
Martha,
see,
I was going to say, if Shane could also share the tennis ball collection that has been ongoing and has grown a little bit over time. And Herb is a great initiator of that program.
Herb is our champion of recycling over here at OCCA.
Yeah.
Tennis ball guy for sure. I've just been helping them expanding it into Oneonta. So we have a collection at Wilbur Park. We have one for the SUNY students, and I think there's one for the tennis club as well. But yeah, so Herb kind of organizes that throughout the county, mainly in Cooperstown and Oneonta at all the tennis clubs. I would say if you know of another tennis club or tennis court that doesn't have a bin there, let us know. Obviously, people probably aren't playing tennis right now, but once they start doing that again, we'll make sure the bins are out.
There's a DEC site, which I'm trying to find, that'll also, you can put in a zip code and it'll tell you all the locations of the textile boxes.
Fantastic, Martha.
Just not finding
Yeah.
that.
I want to jump in on the textile recycling. This is Jeff, in case you can't see my name on your screen. There was definitely some questions when the state started pushing textiles a few years back, and I know that a lot of the bins will only say things like, pairs of shoes or, clean clothes and whatnot. But my understanding is the signage on the bins was not caught up to the regulations, and that even, fragments, chunks of fabric and whatnot, holy jeans or something were acceptable because they're supposed to get those recycled.
Cool.
All right.
That's good that they're being reused into something else. I love that. Okay.
Wonderful. Awesome. So now we're going to jump into that other local organization's interview. And if anyone has any information or want to put some links up in the group chat as it's happening, absolutely continue that. And here we go. We're jumping into it's no surprise because I messed up the tech earlier. It's the Angel Network. So with no further ado. Hi, everybody. We're so excited to have you here today. We've got something special set up here. We actually have Stephanie from the Angel Network to talk a little bit about the network itself and to kind of give us some information on other ways to reduce solid waste. And Stephanie's got some really cool options for us. So I'm going to give it over to her and let her take this on.
Thank you very much. So my name is Stephanie Nealon, and I am a resident of Cooperstown, and I have been involved with the Angel Network from the very start, from the ground up. And I came involved with this network because way back, probably 14, 15 years ago, there was just a few parents where we were talking about, a child that wasn't able to have cupcakes in their classroom for their birthday. And it was because their parents couldn't afford it. So the grassroots started from something really small to where we are today. And we're very proud because we're continuously growing. And just a side note, I'm also a teacher at the Cooperstown Central School. So I get to have a real connection with some of the children and families firsthand, anonymously at the school. They know who I am and they can come ask me for some things, and it's really wonderful.
Can you tell us a little bit more on how it progressed? How long has the Angel Network been around?
Okay, so we really, like I said, it started about, probably, I would say about 14 years ago, maybe even up to 15 years ago. And then around 2014, we became a nonprofit. We gained our 501c3. We realized that, there were more families that needed help, and that forming a nonprofit was the way to go so that we could really help those in need. From 2014 on, we really we were really still like a quiet little network where we worked very hard to be confidential and anonymous, and we still are that. But what we realized is we needed to get our voice out there to the community and to help get in-kind donations so we could support the needs in the area. And when you talk about like where we started from where we are at now, we have done a really, really good job with helping families in the Cooperstown School District, children with their basic needs. But what we found, you know, that we do a good job, like providing food, clothing, shoes. If a child needs money for the SAT program, we can do that. And we also really work well with families to help connect them to other resources, whether it be the food bank or family resource network. So we always try to advocate for families to use other resources in and around the community as well. But these last couple of years, what we've noticed is that we're doing really well with the basic needs, but we realize that, you know, learning in school becomes secondary when a child is just trying to survive. You know, instead of concentrating on a lesson being taught, a child is thinking about their next meal or how they're going to stay warm or how they're going to pay their rent. So the Angel Network is a very unique organization because it helps take the burden and worry away from these students so they're really able to be successful in school. And I think that it's very hard for people sometimes to think, oh, wow, we live in this like incredible little village of Cooperstown, but there's kids going without. And it happens a lot more than people think. And so what we thought that we could really do to move forward to even help these kids further is to really start about providing experiences, because there's too many children, families trapped in a chain of disadvantage, and those are the often poorest and most socially excluded in our society. So the Angel Network now is on a mission. And we, like I said, feel what we've done and continue to do a great job with meeting student basic needs. But now we want to take the next step. We want to try to take the cycle of the disadvantage as a whole in our community and really start providing experiences for children. So providing opportunities for, you know, children to do after school activities, summer camps. You know, many kids aren't able to do after school events because they don't have the transportation. Transportation's a barrier. You know, people say, well, the Clark's Gym, they can have a scholarship. Sure they can, but they're not able to do that because the transportation is a barrier. So the Angel Network now is in the process of writing grants to help overcome these barriers. And that's what we're really asking the community and people who want to get involved. We want them to join on our challenge and help pave the way for all Cooperstown students to benefit from all the wonderful things that our community has to offer. We're rich in many things. We have a lot of arts, music, just so much to offer here, but many of the Angel Network children and families aren't able to be part of them. So we are working hard to close those gaps and provide those experiences for the Angel Network children and families. So any ways that you want to volunteer, there's many ways to support or be a donor, but overall, we feel for the Angel Network, by all of us working together, we make the community in general a better place to live, especially those children in need.
So it sounds like the network has quite a few things that you guys are doing, reducing not just some of the things that we're talking about here for Earth Festival, but reducing worry and really trying to give these students some amazing experiences. That's awesome. That's fantastic.
But I do feel like we are though, we help in other ways that I feel like helps the Earth overall and such, that I can go into more detail if you'd like.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
So I feel like, you know, the Angel Network, one of the things we work hard on, if there's a request for clothes, for example, or maybe a family needs a mattress, or recently a family needed a stove, we reach out to community members, and we always try, before we buy anything new, we always try to use reusable items that are in good shape. So the Angel Network gets reusable items in the hands of people who truly need them. And these are, and we're able to deliver it and share used clothing, school items, needed furniture, supplies. And these reusable items overall help these families in need live a more comfortable, successful, safe life.
That's fantastic. And how would someone, if they had some of these items, how do they get involved? How do they, if they're ready to rock and roll, how do they help?
Yep. So you'll see that we have an email address that is on one of the slides. You can always email and say, you know, hey, I would like to get involved. There's many small ways to larger ways you can get involved. It can be as simple as helping out at My Neighbor's Closet, which happens 2 times a year, where we collect clothing from community members, and then we have it out for Angel Network Families first, and then we open it up to the entire community. And I'll tell you, there are beautiful clothes, shoes, jackets, and we also do that with furniture 1 time a year. And then there's other ways you can write grants, help with the grant writing process, fundraising. We have a fundraising committee. We have a social PR committee. So there are definitely different areas that you can get involved with. Like I said, it can be as little as just saying, hey, I want to help out. How can I help out? And we'll have that discussion with you. Well, how much time can you dedicate? Do you want to do this or that? I feel like this year overall, we have a brand new board. When I say brand new, myself and Christine McBrady-Hulse who is on the board and has been one of the founders. We are the only 2 that have been on it since the beginning. And then we have representatives, one from the food bank, a doctor at Bassett, a parent. So we've tried to really, an accountant, we've tried to really have members on our board now that can represent different parts of the community and also really help us expand and go further. We also do have a website. We have an Instagram account. We have a Facebook. So those are all ways that you could also look us up. You can join our MailChimp. And what our MailChimp is, if you put your name on cooperstownangel@gmail.com and say, hey, I want to be on your MailChimp. An example of this last week, there was a family in need who had a stove that was too dangerous to work because it was rusty and catching on fire. So we put out a request for a stove for a family, and then for a meal for Easter. And you could write back, say, hey, I have a stove, I'd love to donate. So there are many ways that you can get involved that aren't even volunteering your time, but just also donating a reusable item, or if you wanted to be a sponsor or donor, there's ways to do that as well.
That's fantastic. So you guys are doing quite a lot, and for a long time, it sounds like you were doing it kind of a little bit quietly, and it's
Correct.
really awesome to be including so many people in having this available in our community. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes. So is there anything else you wanted to add for our listening?
No, I think now, just, so people know, it's a really tough time with the COVID pandemic. And so we had great ideas for grants for the summer, for summer camps and different things. But right now our efforts are going into urgent needs. So we are currently working on writing a grant, one grant that we know of through the Community Foundation to help families in need with what's going on right now. And if any of you would like to help or get involved or want to help during this time, just again, please email us. But after this ends, we will continue with our future, goals of providing, summer camps and such. But right now, we just don't know if those things are going to happen. So they're kind of on hold, but that is still our end all goal.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing information about the network with our network. And
oh yeah,
it's really interesting.
We're very excited. I wanted to tell you, this is the first time that we heard about EarthFest, and this has been the first year that the Angel Network has been able to give back to other organizations. We've always just been accepting. For an example, one of the organizations that we gave back to was Laundry for Love. So we donated a $500 amount check for families to be able to go and use the local laundromats so they could do their laundry. So we were very excited to join the efforts of the Earth Fest. So we're also looking to get involved and help in other ways as well.
That's awesome. So thank you again for your time to join us. And if anybody has any questions at all about the Angel Network, please use the email on your screen to contact folks and get involved. Thanks again, and we hope that everyone enjoys the rest of Earth Festival, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
All right. So, actually, with even though Stephanie couldn't join us today, I know that Martha is also involved in the network. So if people have questions, feel free, or would like to continue to talk about any of the topics. We still have a few minutes left in our time together for our coffee talk, and I'd love to continue that interactive conversation.
I guess the only thing I could add is that we were planning a My Neighbor's Closet for, I think it was April 16th, and of course it's all on hold. And we'll just have to wait and see what happens. The same thing has happened to the Hartwick Clean Sweep. That would normally be May 16th, and I believe that's going to be on hold as well. As much as Robert O'Brien doesn't want it to be on hold, I think it's going to be on hold.
Gotcha. Yeah, we are all in interesting times now, trying to figure out things and make it work as we can, but as long as we keep those things in mind, obviously, you know, we're a group of people who are able to join us today, and we want to make sure we're helping out any way we can. It looks like we have another question in our chat. All right. The question is, can you clarify the recycling of plastic tops? Should they be put in the container or not? I think this is for Shane. Or Shane, do you have some answers for us there?
Plastic tops, like on container, like
yeah, like on a bottle, I believe. So if you had a bottle and you're recycling the bottle in the top, does that top go in the recycling?
So
or not?
What I generally would say is if they're both.
Oop, you got Mike.
You accidentally muted yourself there, dear.
You can generally include that in the recycling. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So we missed a half of it because your microphone.
Sorry, someone started calling me. Yeah, I was just saying it is, you know, just leave it. If it's the same material, leave it attached, and you can recycle it. If it's a different material, take it off. And you know, we say the rule about, you know, there's like the size rule, but you know, if it's, you know, use your own discretion. But I would say if you can try to leave it on, so that you don't have to worry about the size discrepancy.
What about like a yogurt that has a peel off foil type?
Those I would say throw away, just because I don't think they're not fully aluminum. They have a layer of something on them. Yeah. So I throw those away.
All right.
But you can recycle like aluminum foil. So if there's something that's purely just aluminum, yeah, you can recycle that.
Right. Just make sure it's clean before it goes in the bin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining us and bringing great questions and great conversation. If there are any other questions like we talked about during the webinar today, feel free to reach out either to myself or to any of the speakers. And one more thing that I'm just putting out there, I put a link in the chat. As we are a non-for-profit, we are in a little bit of uncertainty right now. So if there's any way you can help share this information, even a few dollars makes a huge difference in us continuing to do our work. As you know, as we've been kind of placed in our homes and not really out and about, there are still things happening in the federal government. There's still things happening in the local government. There's still things happening we need to be part of and advocacy for. So we're just trying to get the word out and try to help wherever we can to offset that. And we know not everyone is able to right now. So if you are not, we totally understand and would appreciate that you just, you know, keep supporting us when it comes to coming to our webinars and our events and get the word out. So thank you all so much. Have a wonderful day. And we would love to have you join us for some of our other events. So feel free to look at the full list at occainfo.org/earthfestival.